Hi everyone, today we are with Phil. So Phil came to me for neck pain, knee pain, bilateral, and pain on the hips, on both hips. In his past medical history, which is quite filled with episodes, he had quite a few trauma. Probably you can see already where is the main problem, I will tell you. So the first major injury he got, basically he was thrown out of a truck, and he broke the right wrist. This is the oldest injury, and as frequently happens, is the most important. You can tell by looking at the shoulder, it's completely different. So this part of the thoracic spine, it looks this way. So if I try to lift this area and this area, here there is no movement. Also the neck, which is let's say the main complaint, he also suffered from chronic headache. He had 2 episodes of, as a doctor called TIA, so transient ischemic attack. This side is very painful, this side doesn't move at all. Okay. Also, he had an operation on the Achilles. There was a malformation. You said a malformation on the Achilles. There was bone growing into the tendon, so he had an operation there. To be honest, at the moment I don't fear the foot pain as the major one. Definitely this is the major one, because the spine, this level, it doesn't work at all. You had operation here as well, you said. They drilled the bone, they drilled the cartilage, because the doctor believed if you drill the cartilage, there is blood coming in. The cartilage was, let's say, ruined, and it will help the growth of this cartilage. But now, both knee, both hip, and especially the neck with headache. He had 2 ischemic attacks a few years ago. He trained for triathlon, so running, swimming and biking, and he has a desk job, but also you have a rugby coach. Yeah, he has a rugby coach. What do I do is always the same. I check, the patient is already aware, because I already checked the skull, I checked all the spine. He's already aware that this side and this side, they obviously are not at the best of the mobility, but they move. Here is the major issue. So probably you can tell from there that this part is completely dislocated, okay? He said there's been time on his life in which he was going to a chiropractor or an osteopath, and they were laughing at him how bad was the condition. Mainly he received alignment on the spine and the neck, right? The neck and and all the spine. But you can tell this part is terrible. Now, I want to zoom in a little bit on the top. Okay, so try to look at the difference in between this shoulder and this one. Okay, they are completely different. The problem is here is the innervation of the wrist. So, how can I tell that the wrist is the main problem? First, because that one is the innervation of the wrist, but second, you need to do a local mobility test. Okay, this is the other one. So when we do a pronation and a supination, there is a little bit of movement. It's quite tough, because he was dislocating the shoulder 100%. When you dislocate a lot of the shoulder, you need to look at the other arm, because injury here, dislocation, and then the shoulder lose its position. So all the joints are moved, and then you easily dislocate the shoulder. But he also had an operation now, okay? But if you go here, even if you had an operation, if you go here and push, there is a little bit of mobility. Here it's a lot more tender, okay? So still, despite the operation, he has quite a big scar on the shoulder. The wrist is the problem. Now, I'll show you the mobility here, pronation, supination. If we go here, no movement, and no movement, okay? So both pronation, supination on this side, this confirms that that's the main injury. If it was the ankle, despite the fracture, this one would anyway move better than what it does now. So I'm sure this is the first treatment. We start today the treatment of feel, wrist, then we control and we recheck everything, but mainly the neck. Okay, the neck, we can check all the spine, the shoulder and everything. Then it will be probably something less to treat on the next appointment. See you soon. So the treatment ended. He has been thrown by a truck, that's why he broke the wrist. To be honest, I had to treat all the spine because while I was here, I wasn't fully able to treat the wrist immediately, so I had to treat the spine as a whiplash. Someone throw you from a truck, it's a whiplash. Or if you fell by a bike, or if you have a car accident. What happened now? Things are completely different. The pelvis was moving a little bit left and a little bit right. It's not a problem, it's still not a problem with this operation. But if I lift the pelvis now, this part moves. This part is basically still. It doesn't. I cannot lift it at all. Okay. Here is completely changed. So the mobility improved here where there was the injury. So there is more mobility here on the bottom of the neck. If I grab the shoulder underneath and I try to lift the shoulder now, the left one is completely fine. The right one, he had an operation. I cannot lift it. Okay? And this one also, I believe it may be the reason why this part is so tender. So it can be the shoulder or he had an operation on the knee. So we still need to understand in between those two. So he has a lot of pain on the neck, so I won't push a lot, but it doesn't move. And the knee has an innervation L3. So let's see L3. Because it can be the knee or the shoulder. Then I will double check on the spine. This is the knee. It's quite tender, yeah? You feel? Yeah. This side moves. If I grab L3 and I try to pull it toward the left, it doesn't come. So I can tell that something happened because things changed completely. So this side was completely still, now it moves. This part, all this side now is very stuck. Is it the shoulder or is it the knee? Now you can also notice the head is a little bit different. It's inclined because if you have an injury on the shoulder, the neck tends to bend over it, and so your head will be twisted this way. So still the neck, it won't be great, definitely, after this first session. If there is an injury on the bunch of nerve that goes to the arm, the brachial plexus, the jaw will be moved toward the right. Otherwise it can be the knee or it can be something else, but to be honest the knee seems quite bad. Take a deep breath. Okay. So what do I do? Just confirm locally. Nerve that goes to the arm, and I just put my other hand just below the injury. He had an operation for recurring shoulder dislocation. Take a deep breath. My hand, this one goes up, moves toward the neck, and I think it's vice versa as well. Deep breath. I have to double check the knee. So L3 and just below the knee. He has a lot of scar because he played a lot of sport during his life. So he said he played up to 3 hours of sport a day, 5 times a week. Take a deep breath. Is the knee older than the shoulder?
No, shoulder.
The shoulder is older, yeah. How many operations you had on the knee?
I just cleaned it out. They cut the meniscal tears out. I had half a dozen of those, and I had a tear in the cartilage. So you just cleaned it out.
In one session, yeah?
Yeah.
And the shoulder as well, one operation.
Yeah, one operation.
Take a deep breath. Okay. Now, because the pelvis is completely blocked, the shoulder has a little bit of mobility. It's very hard if we compare with the other one. Before, the other one was completely still. Now this one, it's hard, it's very tough it's very hard to lift it, but cannot be compared with the knee. So it looks like it's not the shoulder, but it's the knee. Now we can do some local test on the knee, okay? Let's start with the other one. So we can do an extension. Okay, so here there is no extension at all. There is no movement at all. This one, there is a bit of movement. Now, can you bend the knee? This one. Bend, bend, bend. What is important is the end of range. It's quite flexible, okay? You feel the difference? It's very hard. Try to bend this one again. So, flexible, hard, okay? It's even more the extension. The extension is basically zero. There is no extension at all here. So definitely is the knee. Let's just double check again, because we need to be very, very 100% sure that it's not the shoulder. Otherwise, well, I can now always correct later. But the clavicle move, the shoulder blade, I move it up and down. There is mobility, left and right, so medially and laterally. There is movement. So definitely, this is the next treatment